Hello, Lissa here. Today I really wanted to talk about things that support growing a healthy confidence. And I want to start with a story. Many years ago, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and had started college, and I was a waitress. I had never been a waitress before. And so I got my first waitressing job at a little local restaurant in the town that I was going to college in. And I honestly thought I was doing a fabulous job. I was taking orders, I was putting the orders in, food was getting out, I was having fun talking to people, I enjoyed my coworkers. I really felt like I was doing a good job. Yet, when I had my very first conversation with my boss asked me how I felt I was doing, and I said, I think I'm like knocking it out of the park. And my boss was like, well, I'm having a little bit of a different experience. And that was my first real opportunity to run up against something that I call unwarranted or baseless confidence. Now, this is the confidence that tends to get us into trouble. It is a place where we don't see our our blind sights or our blind blind spots. And it's the place where we may end up going, watch this, and end up with broken bones, all the way to not recognizing maybe the full field of what's going on in an environment, thinking we're doing such a great job with our part and end up with a broken career. It happens in all kinds of relationships. And it tends to be places where we have maybe overlooked that we still have learning to do, or we assume that we can just muscle through based on our personal power, our social engagement, our charisma, whatever that is. And we're not really paying attention to all the factors at play. And we can come off looking a little bit cocky in not only our attitude, but also maybe in our behaviors. So I had this conversation with this supervisor, and she said, I'm having a very different experience. I'm noticing that you're not noticing, da 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 da. And we really have two ways we can go here. I would love it if you would choose to stay here and really learn how to be a good waitress. Or we can part ways, no harm, no foul, and you can go off and find another restaurant to work at or some other place to work at that might be a better fit for you. And it was one of those stomach dropping moments in my life, and a moment where my experience of my confidence and the reality of my actions were out of alignment completely. And so I said to this supervisor of mine who actually owned the restaurant, I said, I want to learn how to be a really good waitress. And she said, excellent, I will teach you. And so I stayed and I learned more about what it was that I was missing unconsciously, not even aware of, right? And so this ultimately led to a second form of confidence, which is I stayed with it. I learned a myriad of things that I never knew existed in waiting tables, and complexities of paying attention to multiple different things at the same time. And I ultimately grew in this confidence in my ability to do something. And for me, in that particular case, it was the confidence of being a waitress. I ultimately left that job. I got a job at a nicer restaurant, then a nicer restaurant. So I was constantly climbing sort of this waitress ladder through college, and it ultimately served me very well. But it's also shown up in other places in my career where I started off with no confidence. And then because I had that learner mindset, that idea that maybe I didn't know everything, I'd gotten out of the baseless, unwarranted confidence and into, I want to have confidence in my ability. I then was able to grow my confidence in my ability. And this is where most of us have confidence. If you've done anything for any length of time and you've had any of these kind of conversations and you've been open to learning more, you probably have a pretty good sense of your confidence in your ability to function within the world, function within your job, function at an optimal level. right? And that's a one kind of confidence that is really useful. The flip coin to that, though, is more of an internal confidence. And this really comes to play when we start to think of what our value is, what our worthiness is, whether we have something, what it is that we offer the world that doesn't come from our ability to produce or perform, but rather our being, our intrinsic value. And this often is the place that is tricky and shags us up. It is often the hardest confidence because while we may have high confidence in our ability, we may have low confidence in our value. And so it is this shifting to understand that we do all have intrinsic value, and you're learning to be confident in the value that you bring forward that just comes generated internally from you. Things that might support you having healthy confidence, and really healthy confidence is both sides of this coin. It's the confidence in your ability and capacity to do things. It's also your value and your ability to have confidence in your self-worth and your value of what you offer in just being yourself as a whole human being. And so having a willingness to have a realistic expectation or realistic view of what your strengths are and also where your growth edges are. Being willing to go, I know this I'm great at, but I'm not as good here, and that's a place I really need to lean in to my growth edge and develop skill sets around that. So for instance, if I honestly, even at 19, I had a confidence in my ability to have a conversation that was difficult. So when I had this difficult conversation, I didn't lose my mind. I just sat with it and then asked what was the next steps on learning to go forward. But there have been times where I have not had confidence in having a difficult conversation. And so I needed to recognize that. I needed to say, this is not an easy thing for me. So what is it that I need to engage for myself, whether it's learning, whether it is just getting really grounded in what the truth is for myself, so that I could have this conversation that was difficult in a way that led to what is the goal that I want for the conversation I'm about to have also. So having this realistic view of our strengths and also our growth edges is really important. I think also, given the fact that we say hundreds of negative things to ourselves pretty much every minute, and we can, computate the numbers on that, and we will find that we say millions of negative things to ourselves over a period of time. How do we rewrite that negative narrative? It doesn't mean moving from I can do nothing right to I'm perfect at everything. That really takes us into the unwarranted confidence. But it is about I can take one more step. I'm capable of learning. It can just be little tweaks to the narrative of I never do anything right to I can learn one more thing. I'm capable of expanding my understanding of something 1%, 2%, 3% more. Then there's also this sense of having a group of trusted people that love you, have compassion for you, but also will be honest with you, and that you can trust them, that their honesty is coming from a really good place. It's a little like in the business world when we have a 360 review. It's in our personal lives. We do a bit of a 360 review with the people who we trust and who we value their willingness to be honest with us about where they see our growth edges might be, but also where we really show up and shine. We need the whole picture, and confidence comes with this whole picture, right? And then the last piece or tool that will really support you in growing a healthy confidence happens with breathing through the discomfort of the feelings that come up when we run into that edge where we're not feeling confident. What do I need to ground myself? What do I need to breathe into to acknowledge that that feeling has shown up so that it doesn't wash me away like a tsunami, but rather I can ground myself, digging my roots deeply into the ground so that I can stand there with confidence, even if I'm not feeling completely confident about the whole picture in the moment. I'm confident in my ability to pivot, to be agile, and to navigate the plot twists that might be showing up in my life. So I hope this little talk supports you in getting curious with yourself, and also to really grow your confidence, because honestly, you're worth that. So take some time and think about your own levels of confidence and where your growth edges are. And I wish you well. Cheers.